He was one of those professors that we loved immediately because it was so clear that, first of all, he's brilliant. And he was teaching arguably the hardest subject that we had to master. But he did it in a way that helped us understand it, and he not only was smart enough to teach it, but he was kind enough to teach it. He cared deeply about our learning it, so he treated us more like colleagues than students, and it was very clear that he took his work very seriously and took our education very seriously. So he was beloved from day one, and over the course of his time here, he just consistently won Teacher of the Year awards and was a faculty hooter year after year, and beloved member of the faculty.
So he's a teacher by nature. The entire family are teacher by nature. They really know how to teach, how to enforce the important parts of the lectures. So he set a very good example for me to teach medical students. And I really appreciate his effort and his family effort in education.
And Stan Olson could not have hired a better guy than Phil Westerman to get the college known. Phil, I think, his big contribution to Newcomb as a new faculty member and a new program. It's a very new program. It didn't exist. It didn't before 1993 and 1973. It didn't exist. But immediately, people knew about the school because of Westerman's work. I'm quite sure there were other faculty who did this as well at Newcomb, but Phil really contributed extremely well. And he basically put him on the map.
So he had this sort of interpersonal charm that sort of broke down anything that might serve as a barrier between you and him, and made him instantly likable. And then it was very clear after working with him and interacting with him and watching the way he taught and interacted with students that he had a great love of science, he had a great love of students, and he had a great commitment to education. So I think all of those things made him, a very special teacher, and it was not surprising that he emerged as, a class favorite year after year and got so many accolades.
I think of Phil that way. I think, and as I mentioned before, he's just an ambassador to the program, a top flight. So the medical school couldn't have hired a better guy.
Congratulations, Phil, and your entire family for this honor of Lifetime Achievement Award from Alumni Association of NEOMED. You are highly deserved for this honor, for your dedication to education, research, and the services to NEOMED.
So Dr. Westerman, before I congratulate you, I want to say thank you for being one of our all-time favorite teachers, for caring so much about this institution and all of us in the early days and ever since, and for your commitment to the training of the next generation of the healthcare workforce. I appreciate everything you taught me, but also your contributions to the kind of, not just physician I became, but the kind of teacher that I became. So congratulations, you're one of the coolest guys I know, and I want to be just like you when I grow up.
For his dedication and service to this university, a teaching style that made his interactions with students something to treasure, and for his pioneering spirit that helped shape this institution we know today, the NEOMED Alumni Association is proud to honor Dr. Philip Westerman with a Lifetime Achievement Award. Dr. Westerman, please come forward.
thank you, Reggie, for this award. I'm highly honored to receive it. Joe, thank you for your words, but I didn't teach you. I'm too young. No, it was very kind, your remarks. Tonight I've been thrilled by two events. The first one was the fact that all of my family could come here. And I'd like to just introduce them to you. My daughter Natasha here, who's doing the signing, to Alex back there, and her husband, Dan, who played for many years in the US Army Field Band and was our chauffeur on a recent trip to Ireland, in which he had to drive on the other side of the road and use the stick shift. To my son-in-law Ben, back there, who is the father of two children way back, Carson Barlow and Maya Barlow. And thank you for being here. And then Natasha and Dan have three children. They live in Laurel, Maryland, and they've driven all the way from there tonight. And the three children are Sam, who actually I found out tonight played a pivotal role in rerouting traffic around Baltimore. Due to the bridge failure. Then there is Kylie and her boyfriend, Fox. And finally, Benjamin, who's just been accepted into Temple University as a music major, jazz in particular. So, now the other thing that thrilled me tonight, the second thing, was to see students from the charter class come up to me and just remember the days when they took a risk to be involved in this program, and I actually took a risk to take a position here. When I first came here in 1976 for my job interview, this institution existed as a single steel girder sticking out of the ground. Well, look at it today. So it's been amazing. I have to teach with teaching aids, so I'm going to use these. My daughter Natasha gave this to me when she was 4 or 5 years old, and I've kept it on my desk or in my top drawer for my whole career. She didn't understand what I was doing at a medical school, but she knew I'd got a position at a medical school. And to me, this just symbolized the fact that it was all about family. You know, it was not just about me. I was not just on an ego trip. I was doing this because of the legacy I was going to leave. And so I have valued this all my life. So thank you, Natasha. There's a couple of other people I would like to mention. Firstly, the man who hired me was Frank Hooder. He was a prisoner in World War II in Austria. He was in a labor camp. And he came here and established a program to study an enzyme system called cytochrome P450, which exists in the liver and is very important in metabolizing drugs and foreign compounds, as well as in the biosynthesis of important physiological compounds. He hired me and he showed faith that I would be able to contribute to his effort to study this enzyme system. He had a brilliant concept. He would apply a multidisciplinary approach to look at this enzyme system. He would include a physical chemist, which I was, and he would include a molecular biologist and a classical biochemist. And we were to write a grant proposal to the NIH. Well, things didn't turn out that way, actually. We spent the first year many, many hours writing that grant proposal. It wasn't funded, and I'll come back to that in a few minutes to explain how that was good and bad. Dr. Hurra and myself and my colleague Dr. Steggles, who some of you will remember, we decided that we would teach biochemistry a different way. And we would use as a model this little critter called a red blood cell. Now, it doesn't have eyes like my little mascot does, but this is a million times bigger than the real red blood cell. And why did we choose this? Because biochemistry was simple. The biochemistry within this little cell was simple and nothing like a liver cell or a hepatocyte. And the other interesting thing is that we could trace from a single mutation in the red blood cell precursor, we could trace the change in the protein structure hemoglobin, then the change in the function of the molecule hemoglobin, and if something went wrong, we could explain the pathology. It was very, very logical. And this proved to be a very successful teaching model. And that was reflected by our results in biochemistry on nationally administered exams. And indeed, you may not know that the school was almost closed down in 1981 due to a budgetary crisis in the state of Ohio. And one of the arguments in favor of keeping the school funded by the state was that how come this infant medical school could achieve results comparable to the national average and above the national average. And there were a couple of programs that achieved great success in the early days. And this was used by our administrators to bolster our argument to keep this school open. So I owe a lot to Dr. Hurra. And Dr. Hurra's widow, Maria Hurra, is alive today and was intending to come tonight. And I hope that you are recording this because I hope Maria will hear this. But I owe a lot to her and to Frank Hurra. And Audrey Benida, no longer Benida,
but always
is the daughter of Swanee Benida. So Swanee, could you stand up, please? Thank you, Swanee, for your contribution. Now, I said that our initial center project was not funded by the NIH. I was rescued by two things that occurred. Firstly, in the second year of my teaching, I was awarded a Teacher of the Year award. And this was amazing to me because I came to the school not really as a classical biochemist, but as a physical organic chemist with expertise in nuclear magnetic resonance. And I realized I had an aptitude for teaching. And so that was the second year. But the second really important event that occurred was that when our center project was not funded by the NIH, a man who has given a presentation on the video, Dr. Bill Doan, who's sitting at our table here, professor of physics, director of the internationally known Liquid Crystal Institute for many years, entrepreneur extraordinaire and inventor extraordinaire. We got engaged in a conversation one day and we found out that we had mutual interests. I was trained as an organic chemist. I could make compounds. I could make phospholipids. I could synthesize cholesterol. I could replace hydrogen atoms with deuterons and with fluorine atoms and use these foreign atoms as a probe. And we would probe membranes. And what's interesting is the membrane surrounds the red blood cell and every living cell in the body and every organelle within a cell. And that membrane is a liquid crystal. And it only forms in the presence of water. And he had expertise in other types of liquid crystals that are used in displays, TV sets and so on, but he also knew the technique of deuterium nuclear magnetic resonance, and that was my field. And so we realized that our skills were complementary, and he was very kind. He allowed me to use his instrument at Kent State, and so we went on to get some preliminary data submitted to the NIH, and we were funded by the National Institutes of Health. And we produced quite a few papers over the years. And the other great benefit that I achieved by my association with the Liquid Crystal Institute was what I call the Italian connection. And Bill went to Southern Italy, a university in Southern Italy for many years, and he introduced me, and I ended up going to a university in Southern Italy for many years, and what a wonderful experience that was, culturally, intellectually, and I obtained some students from Southern Italy as well. And so things have turned out really well. And so in terms of my legacy, I would put family number one. But in terms of that, this award is certainly an affirmation of what I have achieved professionally. And so I have really enjoyed these 33 years that I spent at NEOUCOM. I still keep calling it NEOUCOM, my apologies. But it's NEOMED. So thank you again for everybody attending, and thank you for this award. I'm highly honored. Thank you.